I have 2 baskets of shears to sharpen today, and it's a holiday of the United States, so I thought I'd use today to catch up, and I'll let you watch me sharpen these. Most of these are left-handed shears, believe it or not. And before I get started on the sharpening, and I am going to get to the sharpening, there's a couple of things I want to talk to you about. Now, you might be new to my channel, or you may watch them all, but there is a secret to going from being a decent, good sharpener to really being a master sharpener. I'm there, not just because I say it. I know I have had certification where I showed I was a master sharpener. I've had training at factories. I've been doing this a long time. What gets you there is experience. And experience doesn't always come with time. And so I'm going to tell you how to get experience quickly without spending the time. So I promise you I'm not going to do a whole lot of talking here, and I'm going to put chapters here. So if you've heard this before, or you want to get to the sharpening, just zap through. Another little point too is that you can always speed up these videos. That's something a lot of people don't realize on YouTube. I do that a lot. But experience can come from experience in other people's trials and errors and mistakes and successes. And that's why, God gave us the Bible. That's why we have parents and older siblings that kind of teach us their experiences in life, so we don't have to learn these all ourselves. And it's the same way with sharpening. So the way to speed up your experiences is watch a lot of videos. Not just mine. There's a lot on YouTube. Now, some of them, you're going to learn what not to do. So you make sure your brain is in gear when you're watching these. If it doesn't sound right, question it. Also, if you watch these videos, they're going to do one of 3 things. It's going to either assure you that, hey, you're doing it right, and it just gives you a little bit more confidence in what you do. Or you'll pick up a new idea, a new tip that will make your work a little bit better, a little bit easier. Number 3, you may learn what not to do. A number of years ago, and I probably shouldn't even tell this story, but a number of years ago, there was a very well-respected sharpener trainer who put something on social media about that you really, and he wasn't from America, it was from another country, and that Americans really can't sharpen correctly because you have to have years of apprenticeship, and you have to be doing it so many years, and that got taken down. I never even read the email. I just heard about it. But no, you don't have to have years of apprenticeship. But if you watch a lot of these videos, even if they seem repetitious to you, that's like apprenticing. Now, your hands aren't doing it, so you've got to get out there and practice. And when I started out, there was no YouTube to watch. So we actually traveled to other states and met with sharpeners I had met, and went to some of the sharpening conventions. Wolf had some of the only ones at that time, and we're going to be doing, we'll be at the Wolf convention this year. And whenever they have future ones, if we're invited, we'll always be there. But we learned from other sharpeners, or I learned from other sharpeners. And then we started our Sharpeners Jam, where we brought other sharpeners here. But anytime you can get with other people that are doing what you're doing and experience what they're experiencing, good or bad, that increases your experience and takes you up to the next level. So it's not wasted time to watch these videos. It's not wasted time to go to sleep with them playing. It's not wasted time to speed through them and stop them when you see something that, hey, that's something new for me. Always, if you do change something, change one thing at a time. Don't change everything you're doing. Also, training is invaluable. Hands-on training in person is invaluable, but you get what you can It's available to you. And number 3, you want to get the best tools and equipment you can get. And I'll be the first to say, our machine is not the only one that can give you an excellent edge. However, there are certain principles, certain things that you need to know and understand that unless you have at least a minimum level of equipment, you're not going to be able to get up there. And for years, I was sharpening by hand and just with stones, and I knew I had to upgrade what I was using. I've been doing this a long time. So let's get on to the sharpening. When I have a lot of shears to sharpen, my first thing is I'm going to kind of evaluate what I have. So I'm going to let you look at these shears with me, and then we'll pick out one that looks the most interesting, and I'll sharpen that on this video today. With that being said, let's take a look at the shears I've got here. Oh, by the way, like, who is this woman talking? I'm Bonnie McGowan. My company is Bonika Shears, and I've been, you might have guessed, lots of years of experience and lots of YouTube videos out there. And I like to teach. I used to be a school teacher in my former life. Subscribe, like, but put comments in there if there's something specific you want me to teach. All right, so these I want to do last. These came in from one of my, this one comes from a salon. This one comes from a beauty supply. So those don't get done as fast as the shears that come from an individual. Now this one has all these Hanzo shears. And they use them pretty much for wet cutting, dried cutting, and this one for slide cutting. So that doesn't always have a lot of meaning to me, but one thing that is important is up here it says I have permission to adjust my shears. So it shows that if I do bend them and have to bend them and break them, it says that there's a small risk. So it lets them know that. So far, I have not broken any shears because I usually find a way to walk around it without bending or a blade. So every one of these are left-handed. Now how do I know? Left-handed shears will cross left over right. Let me pull them all out of this package. So this is the only one that's not a Hanzo, and that's a purple dragon, which is pretty inexpensive one. I think you buy it off Amazon. These are expensive. The better the shear, the easier they are to sharpen. So all of these are lefties, and just to let you know, this is a right-handed shear. So you see how a lefty crosses this way and a right-hand shear crosses that way, even if you flip it over. So with my machine, I'm going to have to do things a little different with the left-handed ones. Let's do the longest one because the longer one is going to be harder to do than the short one. But yeah, none of these are anything crazy. So I don't know why they sent them to me instead of sending them back to Hanzo. But let's go for it. So my first thing you want to do, I've done a quick critique. You might not have noticed that, but I'm kind of checking the screw. It's not because it's loose. I'm looking to see that bumper's there. Of course, this has a fixed finger rest. Now, I don't have to necessarily hold these in my left hand because I'm just going to close them. So it doesn't really matter which hand they're in. And they don't cut too bad. See, even in my right hand, they just pull at the tip. Or there's some nicks in here. There's a nick right here. There's just some little bitty nicks all the way down. So someone takes care of these and they like to have them nice and sharp. Here's my new little pyramid UFO tool. This makes it a lot easier because once I get the right adjustment, the right set, it just stays there. Whereas the other ones I have to pick them up like, which one did I use? If you do these, you'll know what I'm talking about. So I've taken it apart. take all the pieces out. So this is my Cymic HD, which it can do left-handed or right-handed shears. And just kind of get things set up. That's a Warren 800. What's on here? Warren 400. I think that Warren 800 is going to be enough. And I think I want to go down to something finer than my Warren 800, I believe. Maybe a 1200. So I'm kind of getting these ready. And I'll go ahead and get my polishing pad ready. So what I'm doing here, someone just called me on the phone last week. These are kind of hard to pull. It's a pressure sensitive adhesive on the back. And you have to have fingernails to get in there and pull it apart. You can take like a razor blade and cut down here, and it might be easier for you. But when you pull it apart, rather than sticking it down to a metal plate, just find you an old one of these Velcro abrasive sheets. Stick it down here. And that way, you see this one's worn. I can pull that off and toss it. And I can put a fresh one on a flat plate. And I use a flat plate for these. I think it gives me a little bit better shine and a little bit harder surface to do the polishing on. And then I want to keep this clean. So I'm going to set this back behind where hopefully the dust won't get on it. So the Rideline comes first. And let me find a stone. That's a 2000 grit Nanawa. I've got a lot of different stones here. This one I like. It's 2000 grit. It's double-sided. 2000 is aggressive enough that I'm not here spending all day long on this. But it's smooth enough that even when they're slide cutting, which is what they said, it works. Now this is the Nagura stone, and this creates like a slurry. We have several different stones we sell and use. This is my Lefty. I color in the edge, it just makes it faster. Now, just because you remove the red doesn't mean that you have removed the metal. But if the red's still there, you know you haven't removed the metal. So I'm approaching from the left side, where normally I'm approaching from the right side. I always want the edge away from me, so it's a trailing edge. My pressure is over the pivot, and my light out here. Now, I was just in a cosmetology school this week, and there's a new sharpener in this area that she had sharpened one of our Bonika shears. And a student was showing it to me, and the girl said, my boss wasn't happy with the sharpening. She said, but I think mine was okay. So I looked at it, and I could immediately tell what this new sharpener was doing wrong. She was putting, and they said it was a woman, she was putting the pressure here rather than at the pivot. Now you see that red is still, I haven't removed any metal here. The red's kind of removed, but I'm not seeing that shiny Rideline. And which is kind of odd, because usually that occurs when you go behind somebody else's sharpening. They took off too much metal there. But I'm not getting that spot. That's kind of a factory defect, I'm thinking. That they didn't get that back area on that shear very well. So I'm scrubbing up here in the corner, taking extra area off underneath the pivot, so the whole thing kind of comes down a little bit. And I can get that spot right in front of the pivot screw. Not that anybody really ever cuts back there, but I would like, yeah, I've got a Rideline there. I would like for the person that gets these to be able to cut all the way back to here. And you can see how it looks skinny and then wider. There's something little wonky about the alignment of that shear. Am I going to try to fix it, hammer it, or bend it? No. So I'm going to set this at 50 degrees. I think some of these Hanzos are 50. Coming in here, and then I'm going to roll to the edge. And then I'm going to do it, because it's a longer shear, I'm going to do a section at a time. When I work this area, I need to have a teeny tiny gap right here because I don't want to be up there. And that'll keep me from having a wavy blade. So I have to go to the left. I'm going to go a little slower. $50 might be, no, 50's going to do it. So I just want to get a big enough burr to take off those little nicks I saw there. And that's pulling up a burr. So I'm feeling for the burr, but I might also very gently run my nail down there and see if the nicks are gone. I still feel a little bit of a nick right there. Yeah, 30 years of doing this has kind of wreaked havoc on my nails. I don't know if it's the sharpening or just age. I think that's got it. I'm not going to take it out of the clamp. Every time you take the shears in and out of the clamp, you slightly change the angle on them. I did a lousy job of putting this abrasive on here. This is just Velcro. And I'm going at about 15% of the speed that this machine will go. This will go like all the way up to here, but there's no need doing that. I don't need to remove a lot of metal. And it's not like this metal is super hard. Okay, that one has been taken where it needs to be. This one. Slipping in the clamp a little bit. Now you see how I have it slanted down in my clamp like this? When I slant it down like that, I can get the burr at the tip a little bit better. So I have a burr all the way down. I'm going to run my nail down there. I don't feel any nicks. So now I'm going to the smoother grit. And I want to keep it moving. That makes it convexy. People, a lot of times, they'll rotate it, but they'll rotate it before they touch the plate. And so then it's just a bevel again. So now I'm going to go back to my stone. More water. Clean it up. And I'm just carefully laying it on here because I want to knock that burr off. I still feel it back here, which doesn't surprise me because remember we had to work so hard to get that burr back there. So a little extra pressure there. I'm still feeling burr on the inside at that spot, but we should be able to cut it off. Pressure heavier over the pivot. And see, this one was fine. So now polishing. A couple of things in this polishing. I use two different things for my polishing pads. You'll see a lot of people use different sets for polishing. This just seems to work the best for me. I have a diamond spray, and then I have some white polish. A lot of times when I have a brand new felt pad, I'll just give it a pretty good squirt. And then just less as I'm refreshing it later on. So, and with this having a little gray color to it, you can kind of see when you've got it covered. I have actually, one time I was at a hair show and my spray didn't work. And I just poured it on my pad, and it worked pretty nice. And I didn't have to add spray to it. It was a busy hair show. Now I'm going to go slow because when I first do this, I'm going to go left since that's the way I'm going. When I first do this, I kind of want to rub that diamond spray in there, and then I'm going to go a little bit faster. Otherwise, the diamond spray is just going to go flying off. Now, you see when it's brand new, I get all these fuzzies. The friction sort of melts this polish on there. Whee! What a mess. Clean some of this up. And the other thing I want to do at this point is I want to move my my angle up. So I was at 50. I've turned this little red knob. I go up to 52. If you had different equipment, you might need to actually move and adjust everything. Or, you know, if you're comfortable with it, if you're experienced, you can freehand it. Just make sure you don't roll over the edge. So once again, I might go a little bit slower. Until I kind of get that diamond spray. It looks pretty shiny. Now when I run my thumb over here, I can feel it feels a little rough at the tip. I could also feel it feel smoother now. You can also feel it with a microfiber cloth. You run your cloth down here and it should feel smooth. Now it feels smooth, but I could feel a little roughness there before. This one I feel roughness, but it's right there where we know we still left some burr on the inside. So let's clean it up. You always want to wipe it off with alcohol again after you've polished it. And that looks like it's never been sharpened, so. But I can feel roughness right there. So this is where, before I even put it back together, I might go over it with the nail buffer. Feels good. That feels good. So let's put it back together and test it. Now, a lot of people struggle with putting these shears together and taking them apart. If you can remember, the square peg, this is square, goes into the round hole. This hole is the round one. And even if it feels like, oh, it can't fit in there, it doesn't want to go in, it does. And then with it being lefty, you're going to have to work it where they cross. Make sure the edges are coming together. Might have to hold it in your right hand. So I'm tightening this up. And eventually you'll feel where you'll turn it and you'll feel it click. Ah, felt it click. I know you can't hear it, but I can feel and hear it. At this point, I'm kind of feeling to see where it is. And then that's a little bit too tight. I think that's going to be the right adjustment here. Now I can cut off on a paper towel because I know I probably have a little burr left behind, or I can just double up this tissue. And I'm using my left hand this time, and I'm cutting. I'm using pressure when I cut. Now I'm going to check my adjustment. I guess pretty good on that adjustment, didn't I? One of the guys I trained with, he would just kind of hold it and just sort of bounce it with his thumb to see if it's the right adjustment, which that's probably a good way to do it. It's just hard to teach because it's like, it's a feel. So I've got my wet tissue. This is hard to do in my left hand. Like I said, it's really, you could do it with your right hand because the idea is that you're not putting any pressure on it. But I want to slowly, close it, and shouldn't be any snag. Let me do it with the right hand because it really shouldn't matter. No pull at all. Now always, even if it cuts perfect, always double check the tip and make sure there's no gap there. Sometimes there'll be a gap there and it didn't pull the tissue and you'll be surprised. And double check your adjustment. So those are done. I might put a little oil here. Even though these were lefties, these were very easy to do because I wasn't following behind somebody else's sharpening. They only had a few little nicks on them, and they looked like they'd never been sharpened before. So that's about as easy as it comes in sharpening, and that was pretty quick. So I hope this experience helped you along your way, and I have some more difficult videos where I've had some challenges, and you may want to watch those videos next.